Okay, great. So my name is Ryan Hartman with Inside Real Estate. We have Karen Abram. Hello, Karen. Karen's on the product. Hey, Karen's on the product team here at Inside Real Estate. She's going to be helping out today and doing a demo of a really cool feature we have going for us. The topic is, we're just calling this a home value request seller leads workshop. And you guys can kind of see on the screen here what the agenda is. You can see that I've dropped it. You can use this link if you want to go straight to these notes and start kind of checking this out. I don't want you to get too distracted. Give me time to go through each of these things, but you can click through some of the stuff if you want. And as we've mentioned here in the before we hit record button, you can always watch these at insiderealestate.com/webinars. You can see all the replays. And I also would like to point out just before we get started here is that we do have our live training calendar right at the top right of the kvCORE dashboard. Right here where it says live training, might seem small on your screen, but if you click that, all of these sessions and a lot of other great stuff, you can always go and get the links to anything we're doing from day to day right there. So definitely make sure everybody on your team knows about this and that you kind of bookmark this calendar or just think to check on it from day to day. Okay, so what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to try to generate some seller leads, or we're at least going to show a flow you can go through to start to generate home valuation requests with kvCORE. And Karen's here to show how you're going to go about following up with these leads by delivering a really awesome home value report. So Karen, I'm going to keep talking for about 15 minutes and do a demo, and then I'll turn it over to you. That's cool.
Sounds good.
So let's start. The first step in building out this funnel is we're going to build a home value request landing page. And here's an example of what we're about to build. I'd like to show you guys step by step how to build this. And you might be looking at this, scratching your head and thinking, well, that's really simple and there's not a lot going on there. But trust me, these work really well. The whole idea is that somebody gets here and they either put in their address to continue the process or they don't right away. I will also mention that you do have on your kvCORE website, you can also drive traffic and do a similar thing by just sending people to the home value page on your website right here. But I want to show you how to build this landing page specifically for a targeted campaign. So let's go into kvCORE, and I'm going to go to the lead engine section right here. I'm going to go to where it says landing pages, and I'm going to choose a landing page. Now, Karen, what market are you in? You're in California, right?
Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles.
All right, so we'll just do a Los Angeles page. You might want to get a little more targeted to a neighborhood or a zip code, right? In some cases. Is there a specific city, or should we just leave it like that? Yeah.
Let's use West Hills.
West Hills, great. So what we're going to do to recreate this page right here that I just showed you, where to go? Lost it. The home value report. What we're going to do is we're going to start to click through and add some text. So West Hills home value report. I forgot a very important step, guys. Sorry, is I need to go right up to the left here where it says lead generation, and I'm going to do an address capture page. So you have these different options. I'm going to do address capture. Now I'm going to type West Hills home value report. And for my second step, Step 1, enter your address, like that. And I like to remove the bottoms here. And also know that you can put a custom background in. We also just today added some additional backgrounds. They just got them in here. So the image that I have in the docs, I'm pleasantly surprised to learn, should actually just be in there by default. And it is. So if I click down here, and I choose golf report, that's there. These are probably just a few hours old. They were news to me about 5 minutes ago when I saw the notification about them. So I'll choose home value report, West Hills home value report. Step 1, enter your address. And then I'm gonna put a hashtag in and I'll do home value report. And the hashtag is important because when people come into the kvCORE system, these hashtags are what we use to trigger follow-up. So let's hit save. Now, guys, I see your questions. Some people are asking, how long has this been going on? We're only about 3 minutes in. All we've done so far is we've gone and started to build out a seller lead capture page. We went to the lead engine. We went to landing pages right here and clicked start building. And we chose the address version of the landing page and we created this quick page. Okay, that's all we've done so far. Now, I'm going to show you what the experience is when somebody lands on this page, so you have context for when you go to run an ad. So I'm going to open up a new window here. Type in an address. And then what this will do is it'll bring people through the typical what's my house worth flow in kvCORE. So I'll just put my email in. And then a lead will be generated in the system. Now, one common question we get is sometimes people will say, hey, well, I only got the address. And this is by design where we collect the address first. And then if people don't continue through, you at least have the address and can follow up with mail or do some searching to try to figure out who the contact is. But if they don't continue with the separate step and become a kvCORE lead, you've at least captured the address. Okay. So that's our landing page. I'm going to save my URL here. And then the next thing I'm going to do, just to show you guys how we create a really quick funnel here, is I'm going to run a Facebook ad. So everybody's asking, how do you do this again? You can watch the recording. It's definitely recorded, but I need to keep going so that we get a full, we get the full presentation done. Okay, so I'm going to go into Facebook. Right here. And I'm going to click Create to run an ad. This assumes you have a Facebook ad account. I'm going to choose the traffic objective, click Continue. Do New Campaign. I'm going to choose housing as a special category. This is really important on Facebook right now. Guys, this will be recorded. We're getting so many comments. I'm going to stop answering that question, okay? So I'm going to continue here. Ad set name, West Hills Home Value Report. We'll choose a daily budget. We'll continue on here. Now, what we need to choose is our location. So I'm going to type in West Hills, California. Karen, doesn't look like it wants to come up. I'm just going to use Los Angeles County for now.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm. And guys, don't stress about being able to follow along and do all this right now. This really want you to get the flow and get some context for how this funnel is built. And if you were on the growth system webinar last week, you saw there's kind of a process where we have our capture offer. In this example, we have a home valuation offer, and now we're running an ad to generate traffic. So here we go. That is a Great Dane puppy behind you. Behind me. Sorry about that sound. Okay. Now we're going to attach the ad to a Facebook page. And I'm intentionally moving along briskly just to give you context on what this looks like. So get a free detailed report that shows what a buyer might pay for your West Hills home in today's hot real estate market. West Hills home value report is the headline. And then we'll generally add a video or an image to the ad and get it going. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm getting feedback in the chat. What I'm going to do now is show you what the finished product of this ad looks like. But basically, what you're going to, once you have your landing page built, you can go to Facebook and run an ad that drives traffic to it, and you'll get to an ad that looks like this. The dog just woke up. He's not hungry. All right, so show ad here. So here's an example. And generally, an ad like this, you can drive clicks to your home valuation page for somewhere between, the prices are getting a little heavier, but somewhere between, say, 30, 40 cents and $1, sometimes a little more, depending on your market. You can get people to visit your page, and then you can get a certain percentage of people to put their address in and become leads. So that's the kind of basics of building a landing page-based funnel with kvCORE. People click off of an ad, they go to a landing page here. And what I've done is just shown some other examples of ads that you can do. There's a bunch of different approaches you can take with this. For example, you could do a Facebook lead form ad where the form gets filled out on Facebook. So I'll show you that example here. Facebook's they like to show the ad previews as a second post. So here we go. It's an example. When somebody clicks that form, the address of the person is pre-filled, their contact info, and so on. And they continue through, and the lead can be injected automatically into kvCORE. You could also do a Google pay-per-click search ad where somebody searches, "What's my house worth?" and they get an ad that shows, "Get your home value report." And then they click through to that very page. You could use Google display ads. And I'm intentionally moving through this briskly, guys, because I want to give you the nuts and bolts of what the funnel looks like. So these, what I'm showing you now, are different ways to get traffic to your report. Okay. You could do YouTube video ads. So here's an example ad that I did. I'll just not show the whole video. Whoops. All right, I'll have to swap in I guess I grabbed the demo link. I'll get the proper one in just a second and put it in the doc when Karen's talking. And then you could also integrate this offer into just sold postcards. And in this example, we're showing where you can have somebody text the word value report to a phone number and then auto reply back and start a conversation and deliver the report. So I'm gonna show now how to build that text auto reply in kvCORE. Then I'm gonna turn it over to Karen, and Karen's gonna show you how to actually fulfill the report side of this, the great tool that we have that will allow you to do that. So to build text response codes, so I showed you the landing pages, right? How to build a landing page and all those different ways you can get traffic to it. To build a text response code, you're gonna go to call capture right here. You're going to click Get Started. And then right over to the right, you can add a code to the system and use something like West Hills home value or just home value. And then you can reply back with a link. Now, one thing I like to do here with seller leads in particular is just reply back and say, "Hi, thanks for requesting a value report. What's the address?" Just like that. And a lot of times people will reply back. So just like that, we're going to attach it to our smart number as the last step. Karen, it looks like your demo account doesn't have a smart number attached.
Sorry about that.
Little snag, that's okay. So that's what we would do. We would add that, and then people would be able to text that number to that number, that code to that number, and then they would get that reply back, "Hey, what's your address?" And when they give you the address, then you're going to go ahead and create them the valuation report. That's the whole idea with the funnel. So what we've done in this first part is efficiently and quickly, I realize, just show you that you can go into kvCORE, build yourself a landing page, you can create a text code if you want, and then you can use a number of different ways to drive traffic to that page and start to get people flowing into your kvCORE system. Now, a minute ago, you saw me opt into the landing page, and hopefully it worked as planned. It did. And you can see that I'm added to Karen's CRM demo account here as a lead. So come in right here, and you can see the address that I input here is in there. The hashtag is there, home value report. And then at this point, when you start getting these leads, the next thing you're going to do, obviously, since you offered a home valuation report, is you're going to create one. And at this point, Karen, I'm going to let you share the screen and show how to go about creating that report.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to slow down and go through the step-by-step as we build out the report.
Mm-hmm.
So let me share my screen here. All right, Ryan, can you see my screen okay?
Sure can.
All right, so let me make this a little bit larger here. So here's my client right from here that came in. When I click on that, I'm going to see right from here that I have that option to create that DashCMA report for them. When I click that, at which point it is going to take that property address that they came through on. So it's going to automatically transfer that information. So it's going to skip that step for me of where DashCMA would ask you to input the address for the property you're trying to price. Since we already know that information from the trail, from what they put in, we know that this is that property, then we skip that step, we plug that property in, we look up the public tax records for that property, as again, we're trying to build a comparable market analysis. So public tax records tell us that this property is a single family home, 3-bed, 1763 square feet. Now, what this tool will do here is it will say, since we know it's a single family property, we'll suggest that you look at comparables that are also single family. We know it's a 3-bed, we suggest you look at properties that are 3-bed. We know the square footage, we suggest that range for you. These are buttons. When you click them, they will expand right here. So if you don't want to look plus or minus 20% around that square footage, you can expand this accordingly and the map will adjust. So quick overview of this map here. The goal here is we are looking for comparable properties for this property. You have two options. You can manually input them one by MLS ID if that is what you would like to do. As you do that, the icons will be placed on the map. Or if you don't want to do that, because that is quite laborious, when you click auto, we will automatically show you all the properties in the area that match this criteria. Note that some of these are solid colors as red, yellow, or green to indicate their active, pending, or sold status as a match. But you can also see there's gray icons on this map. The gray icons here will always be outlined to indicate that there's a property, for example, right here, that is closed, but it's not quite a match. When you click on it, we'll tell you why. This is a 4-bed, it's 39% larger, and you chose to only look at 3-bed and within this square footage range. If you want to override the system and use this in your analysis, click add to comps and it will be added. That way, you don't need to expand your search to include 4 beds just to bring this one in. So you don't want to bring every 4-bedroom in. You want to bring only this one. You can add that. You can also add by MLS ID as well. So to quickly recap here, we take the subject property, the information of the subject property from public tax records. We pull the comparables from your MLS access. If you are connected to multiple MLSs, that is not a problem. We pull those in as well. If you are not a member of an MLS and want that data, that is a problem. You do need to be a member of the MLS that we're providing the data in. You can search by default by drop-down radius around that subject property, or you can draw it. So if you're trying to avoid certain streets, you can as well by drawing that shape. So I'm going to keep our 1 mile radius as that default. I'm going to click now Build CMA. How's my pace, Ryan?
It's good for me, but we do get feedback sometimes that it's a little fast. Just know, everybody, there's a replay. You'll be able to slow this down, and it's good for me, Karen.
All right. So I'm going to do a quick orientation here. So what this did was it took all those comparables, that data from the MLS, and what we're looking at here is that dashboard view. So quick tour orientation around what we're looking at. The header here will always highlight the same information. It will quickly highlight, here's the address we're pricing, the date the report is valid for. It'll highlight what is a comparable market analysis, how many comparables used in that analysis, filtered down by their active, pending, closed status, and what does it mean at a minimum to be considered a comparable property. So that we're not just saying we're looking at similar properties, we're objectively stating that at a minimum, any property we look at must be this bed count, must be within this living area size. And you can always edit that criteria right from here. So with that information, we're now going to start building out this the report. So you can create a big picture here with information from these 5 categories, and I will run through each. But notice you already have some information preloaded for you. We're going to preload the most recent active pending, closed properties on the top of this scale here. We're going to also preload some trends and public estimates down here as well. But you can click into each of these and create whatever big picture it is you would like. So when you click into review results, here's all the results right here. You can also view them on the map as well if you'd like. Now, as you click into each property to review, you can browse the photos, you can review that description, the pertinent info, and most importantly, you can decide how you feel about the property. These 35 properties are all match neighborhood, square footage, bed count, and so forth. But I would bet my right foot that after reviewing some of these are not going to be great matches, in which case, delete them. I'd bet my other foot that some of these are going to be fantastic matches. Maybe they have a very similarly updated kitchen, or they back up to a busy street, or they sit on a cul-de-sac. Whatever it is that makes this property stand out as being a great comp out of these 35, I want it to stand out in my report as well. Feature it. When you feature it, this star for Birchton will now be placed right here on the scale, so it's easily featured, it stands out, it pops in my report. That way you can tell your client, I looked at 35 different properties in this neighborhood, all similar in size and square footage. However, a few of them were better comps than the others. I featured those here. Trends, the highest, average, median, lowest, nearest, most recent price points of active, pending, closed properties. As you select those boxes, they're highlighted right here. Features, your client says, I have a pool, others in this area don't. Or my favorite, I have a view, others in this area don't. How much more do I get for having a view versus the others who don't? And now you find yourself in a position having to appraise a view. So what you can do here is we highlight, in fact, we highlight about 20 different features and we narrow to the ones that have differentiators, meaning here's all the features that we track, but they're not necessarily different from comparable to comparable. In other words, all our comparables are one level. There's nothing to compare. However, some comparables have a pool, some of them don't. And that's for active pending. I can do the same for closed. Some of the sold have a pool and some of the sold do not. When I check both boxes, now I'm able to answer my client objectively and say that on average, properties in this area, similar size, same bed count, with a pool on the market right now are going for on average $811,000 compared to the on-market properties, similar size, same bed count in this neighborhood without a pool, averages $730,000. Now, you can always click on these to see those 4 properties right here that are used in that calculation, just in case you have a ringer, just in case one of these is really pulling the average up or down and throwing it off. You can see that from here. So you can show that for both on market as well as off market. Moving to estimates. Your clients are going to check Zillow. We know that. This way, when they check Zillow, you can say, great, I understand you checked Zillow. I look at Zillow too, but I look at it in combination with 20 other factors. For that matter, they might check ePraisal.com. They might check Redfin. They might check Realtor.com. Their Aunt Linda might tell them that they would be a fool to list for anything under $1 million. Everyone has an Aunt Linda. I probably have 4. So this way you can add Aunt Linda, Uncle Bob, Neighbor Sue, the other agent, whatever it is, add every public estimate you would like or public opinion. That way you can say to your client, I know your Aunt Linda's opinion is very important to you, so I included it in our analysis today. Outliers is probably my favorite part of DashCMA, and I do think it is your secret weapon in every pricing conversation that you have with clients. At least it was for me as an agent. So what outliers do is outliers highlight the average price of properties that are either too large or too small to be considered true comparables. And you're going to be too large or too small by 2 variables, either square footage or bed count. So properties in the area with the same bed count but are 25 to 50% larger, you would normally have to run another CMA report to capture those, to get a sense of what those are going for. In this case, you do not need to. You click 25 to 50% larger, and we'll highlight that there are properties in this neighborhood with the same bed count, but they're 25 to 50% larger, and on average are going for $970,000. That's a good note to highlight for Aunt Linda as well, to say that that might be hitting too high, considering it'll start competing with properties that are much larger. Also under outliers, for that investor who says that they have a 3-bed, 1,800 square foot property, and they're considering converting the den to another bedroom and price the property as a 4-bed, 1,800 square foot property. They want to know how much more they would get if they did that. So bed count here, this will highlight the price of properties in the neighborhood with the same square footage range, but with 1 more bed. That way you can see that on average, properties with the same square footage with 1 more bed count are going for on average $792,000. So you can see an 1,800 square foot property is probably more attractive as a 3-bed versus a 4-bed in this neighborhood. And you can see that from here. So hopefully you can start to see where you have the most dense support for your price and where some of your outliers are. You can view this in both price and price per square foot with a simple toggle. That way you can say to your client, what are you more comfortable talking in? Are you more comfortable talking in price or price per square foot? Because my goal is to give you all the information you need to make one of the biggest financial decisions that you have. So this way you can show that to them in either way with that simple toggle. And hopefully you can see that range pop right here. So your next question might be, I see the range. Where do I price in this range? So to help you better determine how aggressive or conservative to price in this range is the second part of a 2-part tool, the market assessment. All of the gauges here, all of these boxes, give you information at a glance, and clicking into any of them will reveal a deeper insight. So I'm going to click into a few of these here to show you how I would use them. Competition, for example. Simply put, this is going to highlight that there's 1 active on the market. When I click on it, I'll see where it is in relation to my subject property. But more importantly, this color coding scheme will highlight for me just how fresh or stale the active inventory is. Would you price differently if you were pricing in a very fresh market versus a very stale market? Possibly. That way, you're able to illustrate that story for your client. This is also fully interactive. When you click into this, you can see that property and the price. You can dive deeper as well by clicking more info. And from here, of course, if you decided, wow, I missed this one, I want to take it out, you can. Moving into, let's see here, let's go into selling pace and active shelf life. So selling pace will highlight, for example, all of your sold properties. So, and only sold. This will look at, for those sold properties, the sold price based on its days on market. Hover over each of these and click into them for that deeper look. Now your client wants to know if that's what's happened, what is happening? How long can they expect to sit on the market? This way you can let them know that that average days on market right now for similar properties is 61 days. So click into that. And you can show that right now there are 7 on-market comparable properties averaging 61 days on market. You can show them what that looked like month over month. So what we're doing here is we're pretending as if we were looking in December with the same criteria in the MLS. And we would have found that in the MLS in December, there were 6 properties that matched the criteria for looking for comparables, meaning same neighborhood, same bed count, similar square footage range. Those 6 were averaging 35 days. Now in January, there are 7 averaging 61 days. Another way to use this is every client wants an idea of how long their home is expected to sit on the market. So when your client says, this is a great price, we should easily fly off the market first weekend. What are your thoughts? This way you can say, well, I'm going to do my best to sell your property as quickly as I can. Right now, there are 6 on-market properties averaging 35 days on market. Without fail, if you say that to your client, whether you are in Los Angeles, North Carolina, Georgia, wherever you are, Your client will note day 35 on their calendar. And on day 36, they're going to call you. And they're going to say, you said that the average similar property was sitting on the market 35 days. Here we are, day 36, without offers. What's happening? That way, you can respond and let them know that that was absolutely the case for December, but the market does change every day. We're now in January. We're up to 7 on-market properties, and that collective average is up to 61 days. So that helps also know whether to be more patient or to be more aggressive with the strategy. I know for my own home sale recently, we were getting some lower offers about 20 days in, but I knew that average was around 50 days. So I would be selling myself short by accepting a lower offer around day 20 when the average similar property was sitting on the market for about 50 days. So with this armed with this information, you move back up to your scale, because now you have that confidence, you have that information to determine just how aggressively to price in this range. I'm going to go back to my price here. So now I enter my price, either as a price or a range. You enter that price right from here. Let's say, let's go with $790. My price, my name, my face will appear right here on the scale with everything around me, so that I can say to my client, I looked at over 35 different properties in your neighborhood that are similar in size and bed count and quality. After looking deeper at the quality, knowing that you have an updated kitchen or knowing that you need to do a little bit of updating, I cherry picked these comparables to really track closer. I also compared my price to various trends, not just the highest, lowest, average, and median price points, but also the most recent and the closest price points of active, pending, closed properties. I checked features, knowing that you have a pool and others in this area do not, so I know what type of value that brings in. I also looked at public estimates, knowing that clients will check Zillow and knowing that your Aunt Linda's opinion is very important to you. And I also looked at other outliers so that we don't inadvertently start competing with properties that are much larger than yours. I looked at this in both price and price per square foot to make sure that I'm ready for every pricing conversation that comes my way. And when you say that and you show your client this, at that point they feel relieved. They understand that data. They start to have a prioritization to the data to see what is that outlier. So when their highest closed comp is at 960, before they put all their eggs in the $960,000 basket, they know that that was a bit of an outlier. Same for this home over here. They're able to see a little bit more of a realistic story and have a way to prioritize and analyze that data right from here. Before I go into the sharing, Ryan, how are we doing on any of the questions?
Oh, wow.
Slow down?
We've got tons of questions, some good feedback. Maybe I'll give you a few of the questions now, if you don't mind. Sure. Does this work for commercial? I assume it's for everything in the MLS, but does it work for commercial?
Not commercial yet. We will be bringing out commercial, but right now it is only residential.
Okay. And how about
Canada? Can do multi-unit though.
Multi-unit, great. And how about Canada?
Canada, we are live with TREB, so your Toronto market, and we will be expanding to the rest shortly.
Okay. And then most MLSs in North America, I believe, or are there some that aren't?
We are currently at about 85% coverage for the US.
Great. And then just to answer some people's questions, this is a kvCORE add-on. Of course, there are other options that aren't an add that you can do without an add-on fee. There's RPR and other things. But I think as some of the comments and some people are saying, there is a lot going on here and there's a lot of value here. And I'm going to let Karen continue and she'll explain not only kind of the reporting side of this, but Karen, you use this to close listing appointments. I mean, there's more to it than just delivering a report. So I'll let you keep going.
Sure. So a couple of stories on that is my background is working in advertising to help Fortune 100 companies figure out how much to spend on their advertising efforts and how much they would get in return. After my son was born, I wanted to have a little bit more control of my own schedule, my own travel schedule, and started to think of which careers to transition to. And my husband's a home loan officer, and he pointed out, said, that I have this ability of helping people feel comfortable with big data, of storytelling with data in a way that puts you at ease, he said, maybe you should try real estate, because everyone in real estate's overwhelmed. So I got my real estate license. I started getting out there, got my first client, and they wanted to write an offer on a property that was listed for 1.2 million, that was going to sell for closer to 1.5 million, and they wanted to write an offer for 900,000. So I said, let's pull a comparable market analysis before we write that offer to make sure you're more informed about the market before we put in a $900,000 offer on a home that did actually sell for close to 1.5. I pulled about 5 or 6 different reports to tell multiple angles of the story. I wanted him to understand that his price was more aligned with properties that were 25 to 50% smaller. I wanted him to understand that this property had certain features that were commanding a premium in this neighborhood. I wanted him to understand that the active market was currently much higher than the recently closed market. I wanted him to get a sense that properties in this area were not sitting on the market long, that the competition was light, that there was not a lot of supply, and I wanted him to see that pricing favorability was not in our favor. So I couldn't see that though in one report. I had to piece together about 5 60+ page reports. We started flipping through. Page 9, he stalked me and he said, you know, if you're a good negotiator, you should be able to get this done for 900,000. And it was at that point I realized it doesn't matter if I have all the information, which I do. I ran report after report. I knew this property inside and out. I had all the right information. I just didn't have a format to help him understand all of that information. I needed him to visually see that his price was way over here, that he was offering, for example, in this situation, that this was his price. I needed him to see that in a visual way. So I realized it didn't matter if I knew all that information. I'm not the decision maker. I'm the expert to help guide the decision maker to the right decision. So at that point, decided to build out the tool. I used this in my business, did quite well. Ultimately sold our home twice now using this tool. We just set a record last week using this as well for our home. So it definitely helps highlight for you where those nuances are, but also helps your client to better understand that you're talking about their home specifically and not just every home in the city, which every seller, every buyer wants to feel that you're noticing those nuances of their property. So on that note, how do you share the report? Are we ready for that?
Yeah, we're getting lots of questions about that. Okay. And yeah, do it.
Okay. So how to share the report? You have 2 options, okay? You can create a PDF or you can share an interactive link with your client, okay? So when you share an interactive link with your client, I'm gonna create that right here. I'm gonna open that up. They're going to now receive an email letting them know that this is ready to be viewed. When you click that here, this is what they will see, okay? So from here, and they'll see your information always right to the side here. They'll see this full report. Notice they do not have the option to change their criteria. They cannot access the MLS. They only see what you give them. So if they wanted to write for 600,000, you're able to show that to them right here. You're able to show them this information. They can click, for example, this home on Valley Flores. Now I emphasize that because that's going to be important to remember in a second. So remember, I'm the client. I clicked on Valley Flores. I'm the client. I clicked on market comparables with a pool. I wanted to see which ones those look like. I'm the client. I come down here. I look at, for example, pricing favorability. I click each month. I play around with this to see when supply and demand was heavier in my area. I'm the client. I click on, for example, the selling pace from here. In which case I can click on any of these as well, this home on Welby Way, and I see this property and I see that it was light. So the client cannot change what is featured, the agent controls that. But the client has full interactivity to see the details. Also, a PDF is being prepared for them. It can take about a minute for that to load. Now, let's say as that client, oh, and there it is. It's ready for them here. And I'll show you an example of what that PDF looks like. But first I want to close the loop here. As that client, when I close this report, let me come back to my kvCORE here. When I close the report, a note is going to go back out to the agent, to you, okay? That note is going to highlight for you. You're gonna get an email, but it's also going to be in your CRM here. Let me load this. Oh, let me see here. One second.
I think it said it sent me a report. I could see that as the top note.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you showed that one of the things that really blew my mind was that you can click the DashCMA and it kind of opens it with the address pre-filled. I thought that was
yes.
Science.
So you can see, for example, let's see here in the links. Here it is. Remember I mentioned it's going to be really important to remember that my client clicked on Valley Flores. That's because I'm not next to them. So as that agent, I now received a report. I can see where my client clicked. So yes, it's important to know when they open and close the report. It's important to know how long they spend with it. But for me as an agent, it is much more important to know how they engaged with the report. So I know where to connect with them. Once I get this notification, I'm gonna reach out to them now. And I'm gonna reach out and say, hey, wanted to check in. Did you have a second to look at the report I sent you? By the way, did the home on Valley Flores happen to catch your eye? And when they say, yeah, I did actually notice that. Great. I knew you were a savvy client, that will be a great fit. What are your thoughts? So you can connect with them. You know where they're focusing their attention because they're not sure if they are paying attention to the right things. There's so much information that all anyone wants is to feel somewhat of validation for that they're paying attention to the right things, that the things that are supposed to pop out are the things that they're noticing. So this way you have a starting point. You can connect with them. More importantly, you know if they never open the report, in which case, maybe you want to sell their home more than they do, in which case, don't waste your time there. So from here, another thing I want to show you is how do you rebuild it? So more often than not, the client says, I'd like to sit on the decision for another week. Can you send me an update of what this looks like in another week or another month or so forth? Rather than having to rebuild that report entirely, okay? You can see here in your past reports that you have a list of every time you've built this report. So when you rebuild the report, we save the last one. That way, you can always show the last report shared with your client with the updated one so that they have that frame of reference of here's what I sent you last month, here's what it looks like today. And here's an example of that. When you show, let's take one that I did a while ago here. All right, let's take this one here, 2 months ago. When I click rebuild, the system will quickly remind you what that criteria you used. Notice that last time I was looking for 4 to 5 bedrooms. It remembers that. You do not need to input that again. From there, click build report. Now it's gonna access the MLS and it's gonna lay everything out in that same format. But here's the cool thing. When you click review results this time, we're gonna highlight what's been new since the last time you built this report 2 months ago. So since you looked at this report 2 months ago, we're gonna point out what the new inventory has been. We're gonna remember that you deleted this property the last time you built the report. We'll give you the option to bring it back, but whether you deleted this when it was active or pending, as it continues to move through the funnel, we remember you didn't like it and we keep it out. Notice this has no new status because you've already looked at it. You've already determined that you wanted to feature it. Not only that, but we remember that the last time you built the report, you wanted to show 25 to 50% larger. You wanted to show the most recent active. All of that is captured still here and just updated to reflect the most recent information or most current information. So back to, I'm sure at this point you want to see that PDF.
Yeah,
right?
everybody wants to see the PDF. They also want to know if the interactive link is mobile responsive. So
It is. It sure is. It works great that way because personally, I never want to leave. If you leave an appointment and your client says, "I want to write an offer," if you respond by saying to them, "Sure, when I get back to the office, I'll send you some information to write an informed offer," chances are they're going to do their own research as well. Their research is going to be from Realtor.com, from Redfin, from Zillow, from all the public sites, and it's not going to align necessarily with what you sent. This way, you can take out your phone. You can pull up DashCMA right from there or in kvCORE and click through DashCMA. You can say, before we leave, let's decide on what price we're offering right now. And you can walk them through this. Hopefully, there's nothing I've done so far that you would be uncomfortable doing in front of someone else. That's kind of the fun part too. So here's this PDF.
So that's the other aspect. It's a buyer pricing tool too. It's a
great buyer. So the funny thing is I created this because of that buyer pain point that I mentioned. You know, my guy that wanted to write 900,000 on the 1.5 million, not even realizing that this was actually a listing tool too. So yes, you very much can help you win offers, help your buyer understand if they really are aggressive, or also help your seller understand what top dollar value is. So here's that printout. Let me make this a little larger here. This is 16 pages. Our average printout is 10 to 20 pages. You choose the colors. That color bleeds through entirely throughout your report. It is not just reserved for your header and footer. That way it does feel very customized to you. You choose your logos. You can choose two. That way if you want to show your brokerage and your team logo, you can. Your information's on that first page. Your logos are carried through the top headers of every page here with your contact information at the bottom of every page. That first page highlights the subject property, the date the report's valid for, how many comparables you looked at, and what does it mean to be a comparable property. That way you're setting the stage, you're setting a baseline of what did we look at, and we all have that understanding. So when they say there's a home on the market down the street, did you look at that? You can say, well, the home down the street is a 4-bed. So I looked at it from an outlier perspective, but I didn't look at it from a head-to-head perspective. And you can help them see that. You can show also here that pricing scale in both price and price per square foot will print to help this limit this from being too tiny to see. You are limited to 20 perspectives to plot on this scale. That's also probably more than enough so you don't overwhelm someone as well. I personally like to print this page and this page front back and give out at open houses or to anyone who mentions that they're interested in writing an offer so that they can see, well, before you do, here's everything I looked at. So if they were considering writing 700,000, they know that I'm going to know that that was too low. Next, we print every one of those pop-ups, those gauges, pricing favorability, pricing rate of change, showing the average difference between your list and recorded price for the last 10 sold properties. Your active competition map is highlighted. Your price per square foot is highlighted. Active shelf life is highlighted. I am intentionally breezing through these graphs here to just give you that big picture of that printout. Selling pace here will show that days on market by sold price highlighted as well. And now we show all our work. So we're completely transparent about everything that we looked at. So you can say to your client, here's every property that I looked at. Notice the ones with stars. Those are the ones that we featured because again, we want those to pop everywhere we can in this report. And now only for these starred properties, these featured properties, we keep scrolling here because we had quite a few. We'll then show a page of photos for each of those starred properties. That helps this report stay to a digestible 16 pages and not extend to a 60, 70, 80 page report. Because our feeling is you should absolutely show the details for every single property that matched that criteria that you looked at in your analysis, but you don't necessarily need to show a picture of the guest bathroom for every single one of these. This way, you give the highlights and you go into that greater depth for those featured properties that warranted that greater depth. I'm going to pause here, see if there's any questions.
If you can show the interactive link with the responsive mobile, that might help. People are asking, and this is a question I don't know the answer to. Is it possible to show, this dog is driving me nuts, sorry. Is it possible to collect the seller lead with DashCMA? Is there a widget or anything? Or is that just going to be, that's going to be kvCORE, what I showed in the beginning, right?
That's going to be it, yes, exactly.
Right. So Karen's going to show the interactive link. For those of you guys who are saying, hey, is this a sales pitch? It's a demo, guys. If you do want to buy the product, great. After Karen's done showing off DashCMA, I'm going to show a few other ways to follow up with these leads as well. But yeah, this is the demo portion for DashCMA.
Oh, I'm sorry, the interactive link. So when you show the interactive link here, here's an example of one. And you can create as many as you want. So for example, for this property, maybe I want to send to both the husband and the wife. Maybe the wife keeps saying, you know, he's the decision maker. He's the one that's going to look at it. Meanwhile, the husband's telling me it's really her decision. She's the one that's going to look at it. I want to see what each of them are looking at. So I'm going to create a new link for each of them. And they're each going to have their own link. I'm going to track each of them separately. Okay. So here's what that link looks like. So this is what they see when your client gets that email when they open their report. They see that price analysis was prepared for this address. It's valid for this day. They'll also, just so you know, get notified if they try to open the report about a week later, they'll get a pop-up that says that this report is now 7 days old. The report does not actively refresh. And the reason for that is we do not want to show your client information before we show it to you. We want to make sure that whatever price, whatever you're saying and commenting on about price, that you have all that information before your client does and can reflect that accordingly. So this shows those comparable properties and what does it mean to be a comparable property. Moving down here, they see this scale exactly how you set it up. They see those properties that you featured, meaning the ones that you starred. All these properties that are liked stay in your analysis. They stay as part of your averages and they stay reflected in the report. However, the properties that are starred get that extra feature right on top here. And they are noted by their P, C, and A to denote their active, pending, closed status, and entirely interactive. So if your client clicks on Highlander, 1, they're able to see that property. 2, you as the agent will be notified that this is what they clicked on so that you know that's where their interest was. More importantly, if they click on the highest closed comparable, you know then that's their interest point. And you can see that from here. From here, they can click on any of these as well to see that. So for example, price per square foot, they can click on that. They can see the price square foot. One thing I'll note as well, if you took out a property before sending this link to them, they will not see that. It will not be grayed out. It will be gone. For you, for your view, it will always be grayed out for you so that you can add it back if you like. But when you share an interactive link with your client, they will not see that property at all in their report. From here, they have an option. They see your name here as well. Karen Abram has attached a PDF copy of this as well. If they'd like to download that, they can from here as well. And your information's always right here, so it feels very personal. They can toggle as well between price and price per square foot. And that's the interactive link.
Great. So can this, people ask, can this be sent on a regular basis to that client? We do have our market reports feature in kvCORE that'll auto send it. I assume you could just resend the link manually, right? As often as you want.
Currently, you would need to rebuild it and send that. However, we are in the process of tying that scheduler to that. So that feature will be coming out fairly soon, or that ability.
Great.
But right now, you would just easily go back and rebuild the report.
Great. So Yeah, we had tons of questions. I'll try to get to them all. I think afterwards, guys, if I did miss your questions, we had about 1,000 people on, lots of questions. If we missed anything, we'll reply. We'll be able to see the chats and we'll send you an email if we didn't get your question answered. The recording will be at insiderealestate.com/webinars. Karen, did you have anything else with Dash that you wanted to show? Because I can continue on and just talk about some of the other things that were on the agenda.
Well, what I wanted to point out here is that in your kvCORE, we will highlight for you when those interactive links have been closed. You can also click right from here to see that time spent in engagement so that you have that full view right from here.
Great.
So that you have kind of that one spot.
Great. So everybody, you can find DashCMA in the marketplace section of kvCORE. It is an add-on. I think the pricing should be listed there, and that's that. Now, Karen, if it's all right, I'm going to bring up my screen again.
Sure.
Yep. And thanks for that demo. I'm just conscious of we're getting up against the hour, so I didn't mean to rush you too much there, but it seems like we got a pretty good demo out of you.
So, and one thing, Noakes, I do see a comment here. If it's not showing the marketplace for you, that is likely because we're not currently live with your MLS. We are looking to definitely expand and working towards. So if you do not see that there, reach out with what your MLS is, because that might help us get that added quicker.
Great. And Karen, do you see my screen again?
I do.
Great. So yeah, so I know some people came on late to the webinar. What we did in the beginning was we showed the creation of a landing page, creation of a text code, and then some ad examples of what you would use to drive traffic to generate the home valuation request. And then Karen went pretty deep on DashCMA to show what kind of report you could send back to the lead when you get it. And for my money, if I was a seller and I got this kind of a report, I think, Karen, it really positions you well versus other agents. Like you said, it's a very data-driven kind of thing. And I was thinking as you were talking, this also kind of sets you up to have the price reduction conversation before it even happens.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Having just gone through the sale and working with an agent, the agent did not know that I created DashCMA, and I was that very typical seller who said, we have a great backyard. We have a fantastic pool. We should be able to, definitely command a higher price. He took out a DashCMA report and he said, you have a great backyard. He validated that and said, but right now, a pool is only bringing in about an additional $20,000. And he said, take a look at this. And he showed me my own report for my home, which is probably a moment we'll both always remember. But I saw definitely there was no getting around that. So the data was objectively presented. Yes, there's nuances around it, but I wanted to get 100,000 more, and that's going to be quite a stretch over that average 20,000.
So he got you there. Yep.
Yeah.
So guys, that's sort of the follow-up with the report. I have some bullet points down here in our notes to continue on a little bit. Some other things you can do to follow up, some automated ways I just want to touch upon, kind of closing the loop on the whole seller lead generation funnel. One thing that I like to recommend to everybody is that you definitely, even for your seller leads, even for all your past clients, definitely set up property alerts for in their local market. So treat them as if they're a buyer, but set them up for alerts. I'm going here into the contact record. You can see right up top where it says alerts. Set them up to get all the properties that are coming for sale in their neighborhood, maybe once a week or once a month. And if they ask you why you're doing that, and you can let them know you're doing that, just say it's so that they know and are aware of the competition, everything that's popping up in the neighborhood. And this is very easy to do in kvCORE. You can just go to the alerts tab within the contact record, and you can even have it manually set up. If you're running a seller lead funnel for a specific city, you can go to marketing autopilot right up here, and you can say, hey, every time I get, you're going to click search alerts. Sorry, I did that a little quickly. Go back, go to marketing autopilot, and you click search alerts right here. And you can say, every time I get a lead with the hashtag home value report, or West Hills home value report, in this case, because Karen was doing for that specific city, West Hills home value report, go ahead and send those leads a weekly list of all the properties that come up in that area. So we'll go once weekly, and you would just fill out the criteria for the listing type. right there. Another thing you can do is you can use kvCORE's built-in CMA tool. There's a light CMA tool. Karen, where is that thing? I always forget where it is, and I meant to check before.
Under the light CMA, or
Yeah.
go under Smart CRM here.
Okay, thanks.
Jump into DashCMA right from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this kvCORE has a built-in CMA that I haven't clicked on in a long time, and I'm just realizing I'm not sure where that is. I'll have to, let's go to the support area here. Just guys, you can always go to support.insiderealestate.com. You're watching me do that live. Search articles, CMA. And I'll drop this to everybody live, but there is a little light CMA builder, not DashCMA, not as full function, but built into kvCORE that you can use as well. And I'll drop that to in the chat for everybody. So you could send that. There we go. Thanks, Kyle. Some people are helping me out. I always get so embarrassed because I've been showing this stuff off on webinars for years, and there's always stuff I forget how to do. There we go. So that's the CMA link. You can also have the system send an automated market report by going down where you see where in the checkbox in the contact record here on the left side, how the market reports is checked off. Basically, if it has a full address, as this lead had a full address when I showed you earlier in the webinar, the demo, I put my address in, and now it'll send a market report every 28 days automatically. And I can also trigger it manually right away. And then just a last kind of note that I like to mention, if you want to, you can auto follow up with postcards or direct mail. You get these leads and you can use various mailing services. You can tie into kvCORE using Zapier.com. This is kind of next level stuff, a little more techy, but just put that in the back of your head that once you've collected an address through the kvCORE system, you can use kvCORE's built-in integrations to trigger third-party programs that will send direct mail. And this is the kind of stuff that we talk about in the Next Level Mastermind, which is an option in the kvCORE marketplace. And I'm sure some of you guys have been on those webinars. We do them Q&A webinars every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday if you want to learn more about that. But just to close the loop on the follow-up front, I'm conscious of the fact that we've gone a little bit over an hour here. I want to respect everybody's time. Robert's asking, does this integrate with banner season? That's a great point. Yeah, banner season is Zapier integrated, Robert. So thanks.io, banner season, all of those third-party systems you can send your leads out to and then have stuff automatically triggered. So let's get to some questions, Karen, if you don't mind hanging around for just another minute, just in case I get some Dash questions here. If you purchase DashCMA, will your website use that instead of the included CMA builder? I don't think it's like that. I think you're going to manually create the CMA, right, Karen, by clicking.
Right.
Let's see, if somebody has a question that I missed earlier, go ahead and ask it again so I make sure I get it, and we'll spend 5 to 10 minutes here just making sure we get everybody. The recording of this is going to be at insiderealestate.com/webinars alongside all our other webinars. Karen, if people want to know, is there a deep dive into DashCMA somewhere, like a demo video?
Yeah. We have a full learning portal of information and a quick start guide as well to help you get started.
Okay, so if they go into the learning portal, I assume it'll be in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so in case you guys don't know, the learning portal is accessible from the kvCORE dashboard down at the bottom left, and there's a full DashCMA course in there. Does it cover Texas? We cover 85% of MLSs, right, Karen? I'm sure if you tell me your MLS specifically, Karen will be able to say yay or nay. But if you see DashCMA in the marketplace, then it should be available to you.
Yes, and if you don't see that, definitely reach out on that support widget within kvCORE, and we'll get you an answer back right away. In terms of the questions of will it cover my entire state, we will cover with whatever MLSs that you are aligned with. So if you are a member of 3 different MLSs, we make sure that all of those are synced up. You do not need to log in and out of different ones. Rather, the system knows when you are searching within each of them.
Great. Just going through some of the questions. Again, guys, we'll sift through. We do apologize if we missed one. We had amazing attendance today. Karen, thanks for your time and for being on and showing that off. I always learn something new. I've seen that demo 5 or 10 times. There's always something new that I'm like, oh, I got to get on that and use that feature. And then guys, we'll be back next Wednesday. These featured webinars, again, they occur every Wednesday at 2 p.m. to get links to them and to all of our other trainings, just go to the kvCORE dashboard and go to the live training calendar at the top right. As for this webinar, again, we'll get it posted at insiderealestate.com/webinars later this evening. And thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Yep.